My mother-in-law demanded a DNA test for my baby in the middle of Sunday dinner. Not in private, not with concern, not even with the fake softness people use when they want to pretend cruelty is just honesty. She waited until my daughter was asleep in the bassinet beside the dining room window, until my husband's entire family was passing plates of roast chicken and congratulating themselves on being traditional. And then she placed her fork down with a little silver sound. "I'm sorry," Patricia said, looking straight at me, "but that baby does not look like our family." The room went quiet. My husband, Evan, froze with his glass halfway to his mouth. His father, Robert, stared at his plate. Evan's sister stopped chewing, and I sat there holding a napkin in my lap. 4 weeks postpartum, still stitched, still exhausted, still trying to remember who I was before sleep became a luxury. Patricia smiled like she had been waiting for this moment for months. "I think we need a DNA test." That was the first time I understood that some women do not become grandmothers when a baby is born. They become investigators. My daughter's name was Lily. She had dark hair, soft cheeks, and the kind of tiny fist that closed around my finger like she had already decided I belonged to her. She also had my eyes, my mother's chin, and Evan's mouth when she slept. But Patricia did not care what Lily looked like. She cared that Lily had arrived into a family she wanted to control. I looked at Evan. "Say something," I thought. He opened his mouth. Then he closed it. That silence hurt more than Patricia's accusation, because Patricia had always been Patricia. She had questioned the color of my wedding dress. She had asked if my job as a financial analyst made me too independent for marriage. She had once told me while smiling over coffee that women who kept their maiden names usually had one foot out the door. I had learned to expect little cuts from her. But Evan was supposed to be my husband. Instead, he looked at me like I had been handed an inconvenience he hoped I would manage politely. I said, "You're accusing me of cheating?" Patricia tilted her head. "I'm asking for clarity." "No," I said. "You're accusing me of cheating at your dinner table while my newborn is sleeping 3 feet away." Her face tightened. Robert finally spoke. "Patricia, enough." But he said it quietly, the way a man speaks when he has spent 40 years losing arguments before they begin. Patricia did not even look at him. "If there's nothing to hide," she said, "there should be no problem." That sentence is a trap. People use it when they want to turn your dignity into evidence against you. If you refuse, you look guilty. If you agree, they get to humiliate you and call it proof of innocence later. I looked at my daughter. Lily sighed in her sleep, one tiny hand curled against her cheek. Then I looked back at Patricia. "Fine," I said. "We'll do the test." Evan finally moved. "Maya, you don't have to." I turned to him. "Yes, I do. Because apparently your mother needs science to tell her what her son should have had the courage to say." Patricia's smile disappeared. The appointment was scheduled for Tuesday. Patricia insisted on using a reputable private lab she had found herself. That was the first mistake. People who stage humiliations often choose the stage too carefully. They forget that paper trails love confidence. The lab was downtown. Glass walls, quiet waiting room, framed certificates, a receptionist who spoke in a voice so calm it made the whole thing feel more official than cruel. Patricia arrived in cream silk and pearls, as if she were attending a charity luncheon instead of trying to brand me unfaithful. Evan came beside me carrying Lily's diaper bag, apologizing under his breath in ways that changed nothing. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "For what?" I asked. "Letting her say it? Or needing a lab to disagree with her?" He did not answer. Inside the collection room, a technician swabbed Lily's cheek, then Evan's. She explained chain of custody, identification, consent forms. Patricia hovered near the doorway, watching everything like a woman supervising the sealing of a verdict. When the technician handed me a form to sign, I noticed something strange. There was a section titled Family Reference Sample, optional. Under it, someone had already written Robert Hale, Evan's father. I looked at the technician. Why is my father-in-law listed? She glanced at the paperwork. Mrs. Hale requested an extended lineage panel. Patricia stepped forward quickly. For accuracy, the technician gave a polite smile. It can help in complex family confirmation. Complex family confirmation. I looked at Patricia. For the first time since Sunday dinner, she looked nervous. Not much, just a flicker near the mouth, but I saw it. Did Robert agree to this? I asked. Patricia lifted her chin. Of course. Robert arrived 10 minutes later. He looked confused. He was still in his work shirt, his silver hair slightly windblown, his expression soft when he saw Lily. Patricia said the lab needed me for something, he said. The room tightened. The technician explained the extended panel. Robert looked at his wife. You requested my sample. Patricia smiled too brightly. Just to make sure there are no mistakes. Robert's face changed, not with anger, with memory. At the time, I did not understand that expression. Later I would. Robert signed. The technician swabbed his cheek. Patricia watched with hands clenched around her purse. The results were supposed to take 3 business days. They took 2. But the lab did not call me first. They called Robert. That was not supposed to happen. Evan was the alleged father. I was the mother. Patricia had paid the invoice. But because Robert had signed his own consent form for the extended panel, the lab had a duty to notify him directly about a discrepancy in his personal result. I know this because Robert called me 20 minutes after they called him. His voice was different. Maya, he said, are you alone? I was in Lily's nursery, folding onesies, my phone balanced between my shoulder and ear. Yes. He breathed once, hard. The baby is Evan's. My knees weakened with relief, even though I had known the truth. Thank you for telling me. That is not why I called. I sat down slowly in the rocking chair. Robert continued. The lab said Lily is Evan's child, but the extended panel shows Evan is not my biological son. For a moment, the room lost shape. The mobile above Lily's crib moved slightly in the air conditioning. A little wooden moon turned over and over, catching light. What? Evan is not my biological son, Robert repeated, and Patricia knew enough to be afraid of that test. There are silences that feel empty. This one felt crowded. Patricia had demanded a DNA test to humiliate me, and the test had turned around and knocked on her own front door. Robert asked me not to tell Evan yet. Not because he wanted to hide it, but because he wanted the full report first. I understood. For the first time, I realized Robert was not weak. He had simply been married to a woman who kept every room tilted toward herself. The official report arrived that evening. Evan was Lily's biological father. Probability of paternity. Greater than 99.99%. Clean, final, scientific. But Robert's section showed no biological paternal relationship to Evan. I read the page 3 times. Then I cried. Not for myself. Not even from relief. I cried because Evan, who had failed me so badly, was about to learn that the woman who had demanded proof from me had built his entire identity on a lie. The next Sunday, Patricia invited everyone back to dinner. She said she wanted to clear the air. That was her second mistake. She believed the result would be about me, so I brought the result. And Robert brought his own copy. Patricia wore red this time, a power color. She seated me across from her, Evan beside me, Lily asleep again in her bassinet. It felt almost theatrical, like she wanted to recreate the scene of the accusation so she could control the ending too. After dessert, Patricia folded her hands. I think it's time, she said, for Maya to share what the lab found. Evan looked at me with shame. Mom, stop. No, I said. She's right. It's time. I took the envelope from my bag. Patricia smiled. I opened it slowly. Lily is Evan's daughter, I said. The report confirms it with a probability greater than 99.999%. Evan closed his eyes. His sister whispered, Oh my God! Robert did not move. Patricia's smile twitched, but she recovered quickly. Well, good. Then we can put this behind us. No, Robert said. One word. It landed harder than a shout. Patricia turned to him. Robert. He stood and placed his own envelope on the table. We are not putting it behind us, he said, because the lab called me first. Patricia went pale. Evan looked between them. What does that mean? Robert did not look away from his wife. It means your mother requested an extended lineage panel. She added my sample, and the lab found something she did not expect everyone to learn. Patricia whispered, Robert, not here. I remembered Ryan's not here from another life, another kind of betrayal. It is strange how guilty people always think location is the problem. Evan stood. Dad, what are you talking about? Robert's voice broke only once. I am not your biological father. The room went still. Evan stared at him, then at Patricia. Patricia's mouth opened, but no sound came out. For the first time since I had known her, she had no prepared speech. Evan stepped back from the table. Mom! Patricia reached for him. Sweetheart, it was complicated. That word, complicated. The soft blanket people throw over ugly things. Robert laughed once, but there was no humor in it. You accused Maya of betraying this family when you had hidden this from me for 36 years. Patricia's face changed from fear to anger. I was protecting everyone. No, I said quietly. You were projecting. She looked at me like she wanted to slap the words out of the air. I did not raise my voice. You accused me because you knew what you had done. You looked at my baby and saw your own secret. Evan sat down slowly. That was the moment I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Because yes, he had just been devastated, but he had let me stand alone while his mother called me unfaithful. He had allowed my postpartum body, my marriage, and my daughter's name to be dragged onto a dinner table because confronting Patricia made him uncomfortable. Pain explains silence. It does not excuse it. The consequences came in layers. Robert moved out that night, not dramatically. He packed 2 suitcases while Patricia followed him from room to room, whispering, pleading, then threatening. He left the house to his attorney and checked into a hotel. Within a week, he had filed for separation and requested financial records going back years. That was when the next receipt surfaced. The lab result had broken the family story. The bank records broke the marriage. Robert discovered Patricia had been sending money for years to a man named Thomas Greer. The payments were disguised as consulting fees through a small foundation Patricia controlled. Thomas Greer had been a former business partner of Robert's. He had also, according to old photos Robert found in a storage box, been very close to Patricia the year Evan was born. The truth was not one old mistake. It was a funded secret. Patricia had not just hidden Evan's paternity. She had paid the man connected to it for decades. Evan did eventually take a second DNA test, privately, with Thomas Greer. It confirmed what the first report had already suggested. Robert was the father who raised him. Thomas was the man Patricia had hidden. And Patricia, who had demanded proof of my baby's bloodline in front of a sleeping newborn, had turned out to be the only person at that table who had lied about one. My marriage did not survive unchanged. People expected the DNA result to fix things between Evan and me. They thought because Lily was his, I should feel vindicated and move on. They did not understand that the test had proved Lily's paternity, not Evan's loyalty. The betrayal was not that he doubted me. The betrayal was that he let his mother make me prove myself. We separated for 3 months. During that time, Evan went to therapy, real therapy, not the kind where a man says he is working on himself while waiting for his wife to lower her standards. He apologized without asking for forgiveness in the same sentence. He told Patricia she would not see Lily until she apologized directly and accepted boundaries in writing. Patricia refused, so she did not see Lily. That shocked her more than the separation papers shocked Robert. A woman like Patricia believes access is a birthright. She learned it was a privilege. 6 months later, Evan and I were not perfect. I will not pretend. We became one of those couples who survived a crisis and turned it into a holiday card. Trust is not rebuilt with flowers. It is rebuilt with behavior repeated so often it becomes boring. But I no longer ate dinner at Patricia's table. I no longer explained my dignity to people committed to misunderstanding it. And Lily grew. She grew into a baby with Evan's sleepy mouth, my eyes, Robert's gentle patience, and absolutely none of Patricia's ownership. One afternoon, when Lily was almost 8 months old, I saw Robert holding her in my living room. He was making a ridiculous face, and Lily was laughing so hard she hiccuped. Evan watched them from the doorway. Quietly, he said, "He's still my dad." I said, "Of course he is." Because blood can reveal a lie, but love reveals who stayed. My mother-in-law demanded a DNA test because she thought shame was something she could aim at me. She forgot that truth does not always walk in the direction it is pointed. She wanted the lab to call me guilty. Instead, the lab called her husband first. And by the time the results reached the dinner table, the only woman exposed was the one who had ordered the test.